What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Ask a CISSP episode of The Other Side of the Firewall, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. Speaking of which, today I have on Dr. Jimmy Davies. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. We talked about it a little bit before we started, so we've been trying to sync up our schedules. I greatly appreciate your patience. And yeah, I'd like to learn more about you, as well as your background, your experience. So if you can start to break those down for me and the audience, just so we can learn a little bit more about you, and then we can carry on from there.
Sure. Well, it goes back a ways, a little older. Coming out of college, didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. Right? And I got a job with Social Security Administration, decided I hated it. I wanted to have my own business. Tried a number of different things. Had a janitorial service, sold real estate, sold T-shirts, sold hot dogs at the county fairs. But in the fall of 1987, a friend introduced me to a Macintosh computer.
Okay.
And the light bulb went on, and I just knew I got to get into this technology thing. It was, new at the time. So I tell people, actually, it's true. I started McMaster's Computer Training Service in January of 1988, teaching people how to use Macintosh software that was coming out. But I tell people I had two problems. One, I didn't have a computer at the time. I couldn't afford one. And the second is I really didn't know how to use one. But I could afford the books. And so I would read the books, and then when people would hire me, I would learn on their computers. Well, fast forward, during the 90s, all the software started coming out, right? And no one knew how to use anything. And I grew into a business where I had to actually hire others to help me with the training jobs that were coming through the door. We were servicing 40 cities in 12 states. It grew to that point. And I realized it was growing when I was living in Virginia at the time. Every place I'd go, they're clamoring for help, assistance.
Right.
And so I realized, okay, this is big. So in order to finance my expansion, I sold my car to buy mailing labels from the magazines, like the magazines of the day were Macworld and Mac Today, and you could buy their mailing labels of the subscribers, and they were Mac users. So I figured, hey, if they're getting Mac magazines, they need Mac assistance.
Right.
And it worked. And I would sold my car to buy the labels, print the flyers, and the mailing. Well, around the year 2000, I started specializing in database development. I just discovered I had a knack for that. But in 2015, there is the end to the story here. In 2015, I started thinking, what do I want to do? And that's when I started Every.Black. I was always helping other companies with their technology, learning how to use software, all types of software, you name it. We probably taught on it at some point. But that's when I started Every.Black, met a man by the name of Joe Dudley, who just passed away last year, of Dudley Beauty Products. Started with $10 and created an empire, bringing in over $35 million a year.
Wow.
And he mentored entrepreneurs. Anyone that wanted to have a business, he would mentor them. And that's when it kind of clicked that I needed to use my tech skills to help entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs of color, to be more proficient and efficient with their businesses. And that's what Every.Black is about, which we started officially in 2018. And we're meeting just in person each week. But once COVID happened, we went virtual like everyone else.
Right.
And when we went virtual, actually it was a blessing because then we could reach out to a lot more people and we could have a lot more experts come on to mentor us or to share their expertise. And so that's what we've been doing each week. These meetings were started by a man by the name of S.P. Fuller, who did the same thing, mentored entrepreneurs. He mentored Joe Dudley. And when he passed, Joe Dudley continued it. So these meetings have actually been going on for about 90 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there's a legacy there.
We're continuing the meetings. We have the privilege of being able to use technology and do it on Zoom. So we can reach people that they were not able to reach, literally from around the world. So anyway, that's the real quick story of what I've been doing for the last nearly 40 years.
No, that's
teaching people how to use software. Yeah. And that led into meeting Joe Dudley and just trying to use my tech skills I've developed over time to help entrepreneurs with their technology.
Right. So you're way ahead of your time. Not to age you or myself. So I was born in the 80s.
Okay.
Didn't have a computer. The only computers that I had around me were the one at the library, the one in the back of class, right? We play Oregon Trail on that one.
Right.
And then my aunt, so my aunt Dolores, she passed away over a decade ago, but she was a teacher. When I was of age to use a PC and things of that nature, so she was doing tutoring at the time. So she had Apple IIe. So like what I claim to be my first computer was an Apple IIe,
All
right?
right.
I wouldn't have my own computer until I graduated from tech school, military. So 2003, I built my first computer because
Okay.
that's when I actually had the money to afford parts. Right? But before then, it was Apple IIe. You had Mavis Beacon. You had Where in the World is Carmen San Diego.
Yeah.
Like these were the games that informed, my childhood and taught me how to use a PC. So I'm taken aback by your story, right? Like, because just being an Apple fan from growing up, that's definitely fascinating. So, uh, a little bit about dive a little bit deeper into your background. So, what was your degree in? You said that you graduated college and then
Yeah, my
decided,
degree is in applied mathematics and a
okay,
minor in physics. And I had to tell you, like, I really didn't intend to go to school for that, but I thought I wanted to be a land surveyor, surveying property when property is purchased, or really a branch of civil engineering. And I got into going into my junior year, midway through my junior year, and realized I don't really like this.
gotcha.
And so I went to my counselor at the time and I said, look, I just need to graduate. What's the quickest way to get out of school? And he said, well, you had a lot of math. And so he said, with the applied math program, a few more classes and that, said, sign me up. And I realized with a few more electives in physics, I could get a minor associates in physics. I said, sign me up. And that's what my degree was in. But again, like I said, I worked for Social Security Administration and had nothing to do with my degree. You just had to have a degree, any degree.
Okay, gotcha.
And I had a young family at the time and I needed the money. So I took the job. But soon I realized I hate this. And that's when I had an interest in computers, but I only had one computer class elective in college. And I really liked it. But by that time, again, I was just trying to get out of school. But that's what my degree is in. But I think that even though I didn't go to school for technology, and it became natural because of, I think it's the way you think. It's an analytical thought process. And so you're a tech person, so you understand. And that would always baffle me over the years. Like, why is it that some people get it right away and
Hmm.
some people struggle? And you explain it over and over. And it's not that they're not intelligent. It's just the way you think. I tell you, you have to be analytical. And I say take step one and step two and step three. You can't put the cart before the horse. And even when I have a problem, I realize I'm overcomplicating. I have to go back, take a step back,
Hmm.
and just look at the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and then I have get through the situation, whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. But anyway, that's what I just discovered. I had a knack for it. A lot of patience with people, so when they didn't get it right away, I made them feel comfortable that hey, we can do this,
Right.
we can, and it just turned into like I said, into a career that
So,
teaching people how to use software.
right. So do you think that thought process, or just the way that your mind is wired, do you think that lent itself to you become an entrepreneur, where you're just like, Here's a problem I want to solve, and it's getting out of this job"?
Well, it was a combination because I think I knew early on that I wanted to be on my own. Again, working for others. And I tried it several times, working for other companies. Each time I realized, nope, I just want to be my own. Sometimes you have an idea that you want to pursue, but no matter what business you're in, and in order to pursue the idea, you have to get it approved, or what bothered me is like, well, if I want to go on a vacation or if I want to raise, everything's got to be approved by someone else. And I just felt hampered or restrained that I had these ideas and like I can't even, go after it because I've got to convince someone else that I'm deserving of a raise. But I like entrepreneurship because it's a direct reflection on the effort that you put into it. There's no limits, in my opinion. Or I heard a guy say, Dr. Herbert Harris, who's a good friend of mine, he says, people will pay you, a job will not pay you what you're worth. They will pay you what you're worth to them, but not what
Mhm.
you're worth. So if you're earning 100 grand or 200 grand, they're making more because they wouldn't have you on the job if they weren't making more than whatever they're
Right.
paying you. Why pay you more than they're getting? So he said they weren't not going to pay you what you're worth. They're going to pay you what you're worth to them. And I've just discovered early on that I just like the independence and being able to pursue the ideas that I have. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but the ones that didn't work out as planned, you still learn from and you move on.
No, I like that attitude. I think a lot of people are fearful, to include myself. Right, I'm very calculated individual. Right, like I'm just like I have to know the next three steps, or else I don't want to be involved. But as I get older, I get a little bit more comfortable, only because of the experience. So I've
Well,
experienced. failure. So now I don't fear failure as much.
Yeah,
But in your case, just me thinking about it, you're being a Black entrepreneur before the rise of the internet, right? So
yeah.
you didn't have as in my opinion, I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't have as many examples or tools as we do now, right? Where you have like the World Wide Web, right? I can seek out, search for my phone for ideas or to see someone who has done it, right? Because if you can see it, you can be it. But in your case, you're not you are a pioneer in that space, because I have to assume there were examples and things of that nature, but
There were
it
a
just
few of
wasn't
us,
as
but it was not
fluid
like
as it is
today.
now,
Not
right?
like today. There were a few of us, and we kind of band together. Started keeping in touch. There was a group out of California called Net Noir, and they
Okay.
had an area on AOL when AOL was big. And actually, I applied to AOL too to see if they would have an African American section on there, and they declined my offer. But then I applied to Apple, and Apple approved it. So for 2 years, I worked on an African American, it was called the African American Information Network, on eWorld. eWorld was a competitor of AOL. They're all gone now. But there were a few of us that would kind of keep in touch, encouraging each other. But a lot of it was, like I said, was uncharted territory for Black. So, but we did work on eWorld. And when I think about it, even Every.Black, which is a network of entrepreneurs global, a lot of the roots, the basis of that was based on what I did back in the mid 90s with eWorld. And you can Google it because you probably never heard of it. But it's called the letter E and then World, WRLD. And it was around for a couple of years, and then Apple killed it. Steve Jobs came back and killed it and said, hey, that's not what we do. We make computers. So,
Gotcha.
but I learned a
Gotcha.
lot from that.
That's again astounding. Like when I try to tell my kids about what existed before the internet, right? Like it just breaks their minds. It's like, you did what? Like, yeah, we had to go
Right,
to the library. You had to know the Dewey Decimal System. Still don't know it. Still,
right, right.
still struggle with it. And you had to, find things without having such abundance, right? Like I always tease them, like, you have no excuse not to know everything. The world's at your fingertips now. So,
Exactly.
but no, like, so that's amazing. So then you meet your mentor and you basically join this organization
Uh-huh.
that has been doing this, you said, for 90 years,
Yeah.
which that's legacy, right? Like, I can't even
Well,
think of anything
well, there's,
that would last that long.
well, let me tell you, his name was SB. He was born in 1905 in Louisiana, and he started literally with $25 and became a multimillionaire during the 1940s and 1950s. And a lot of people don't know of him, but he mentored others along the way. He mentored John Johnson of Jet and Ebony magazine. He helped him get started. He mentored George Johnson. I don't know if you remember, there was an Afro Sheen and Ultra Sheen back in the day.
Hmm.
And someone else that he mentored that people don't realize is that he mentored Mary Kay to help her
Oh,
get started in retail
okay.
sales. He mentored Joe Dudley of Dudley Beauty Products. And then Dudley continued those meetings, helping literally anyone that wanted to have their own business. But the only difference that we have is that we're able to use technology to meet people virtually wherever they may be, which they did not have that luxury. But this we use the same basic format where we actually read about entrepreneurship a little bit and have a discussion. We read a few pages of a book each week, have a discussion. We have guest speakers come on from literally around the world on different topics relating to either entrepreneurship, technology, branding, anything that the entrepreneur needs to know. And then we network. And for the last couple of years, I've really been trying to get more and more people on about AI to educate our membership about AI because out of the last 37 years I've been in the tech field one way or another, I tell you, this is the biggest thing I've seen. This is huge. And I heard it said, either there'll be two businesses in the future, those that use AI and those that are out of business.
Mm,
It's that big. And it really is. And so I've given a couple of presentations on the use of AI to different groups. About 3 weeks ago, believe it or not, I was in Orlando and I spoke at a conference about AI. But the type of conference surprised me. They wanted to know. It was a pet conference, like
okay.
for dogs and cats owners and the
Right.
pet industry. They want to know about AI, how AI shaping the pet industry.
Mm,
And so I did a little research, and it is it's like all this stuff is coming out where there's AI pets and you can train them, and AI toys for pets, all kinds of stuff,
right.
related for pets. And then last week I was at another conference of science researchers. And again, they want to know about AI. So I tell people it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you can't be afraid of it. It's not going away. We've got to learn about it to learn how to use it.
Right. No, absolutely. So I dab a little bit, right? It's a force multiplier because I told you before we started, like it may take a while for me to get all the production stuff done, but I'm army of one, right? So it's generating the graphics, it's doing the
Uh-huh.
transcription, the editing, captions, all the above.
Right.
So it definitely it's again kind of like I told my kids with the internet, like you have the ability to seek out anything you want to, and now it seems as though you'll be augmented by AI to accomplish tasks that you wouldn't normally be able to do yourself.
Right.
So that's awesome that you're starting to embed that within your organization as well, right? And kind of democratizing that information.
Exactly.
So what do you see? So you have the meeting, you're carrying the legacy, right? So
Uh-huh.
90 years in the making. How do you see the future of Black entrepreneurship being from where you started to seeing where it's currently at?
Well, I see a couple of things. We're not in slavery. Don't have to worry about that. We have our civil rights. We can vote. But the other thing is economic equality. And there's a huge economic inequality. And I believe that entrepreneurship is the way to bridge that gap. And I believe that technology, it doesn't matter what type of field you're in. Again, you've got to embrace technology with entrepreneurship to bridge the economic income gap. And that's where I see it going. It's inspiring, hopeful that I see younger people really are thinking of more about entrepreneurship than people of my generation. I was
Gotcha.
always told, go to school and you get a job. And you might work in that job for 30 years or whatever, 40 years, and then you retire.
Right.
It doesn't work that way anymore. It just doesn't. The job alone, the technology, the industries are changing so fast. The average person, I don't know, doesn't stay at a job for 30 years anymore. It's just not the case. But I can definitely see the younger generation thinking more about having something of their own versus working for someone else. And I do tell people though, it's great to get a job in whatever profession you're interested in, but go there to learn. Joe Dudley would always say, what can you learn at a position and then take that knowledge and then go out and do your own thing, learn on someone else's dime, learn from the mistakes that someone else has made and then take that knowledge and apply it to whatever it is that you want to do. So, so I feel hopeful now. If we
Right.
can survive the next 4 years,
Yeah.
which is another thing in itself. But overall, though, I do see the younger people, tremendous growth, especially our Black women are leading the way with in education, in business. And so the brothers got to step it up. But yeah, I do feel hopeful that the next generation, future generations will continue down that path of thinking about being the owners, the job makers instead of just the job takers.
Right. Absolutely. And there's so many new examples, like you said. There's a lot of people who are embracing that. You can actually seek out Black products
Yeah,
where you couldn't before.
exactly.
There's several boycotts happening right now because of the whole either removal or the downplay of DEI, right? And
All
we've
right.
been mobilized more than we've ever been before. So it's kind of astounding to see the shift or the change over just the past 4 years, let alone the past 40, right?
Uh-huh.
So your brand, right? Every.Black. So what was the inspiration for not only the naming convention, but to make this robust community that you've
Sure. Well, like I said, after working as a computer instructor and also a database developer, I was a FileMaker Pro database developer. I don't know if you've heard of FileMaker Pro. But anyway, after doing that, I started thinking like, what do I really want to do? And so I knew I wanted to have something to use my tech skills. I knew I wanted to be web-based, so my location wouldn't matter. I knew I wanted something that made money while I slept.
right.
I wanted something like that. And so I came up with having an organization, an association. But at the time, I didn't, I had, believe it or not, I had 12 websites up. Every.Black.entrepreneur.com, Every Black Professional, Every Black Author, Every Black Speaker, Every Black Returning Citizen. You get the idea.
Right.
But then I discovered that .black was a domain in itself. And when I discovered that, then I switched over to Every. It simplified it. And out of the 12 websites, the only one that was getting any traction was the one about entrepreneurship.
Mm.
And about the same time, that's when I met Joe Dudley. So I shut down the others. I changed the name of to Every.Black. You can still go to everyblacentrepreneur.com. It'll take you to Every.Black. But the .black domain, I tell people, it wasn't created for black folk. It represents sophistication, like black tie. A black tie represents a little black dress, a judge's black robe.
Right.
It's supposed to represent the best of the best. And so when I realized that, and also people assume that it's a dot, it's for black folks, but it just fit with what we were doing. Yeah. And so I just kept it. And it's funny because people would say, or .black.com. And I said, no, just Every.Black.
Right.
And I would say .black is like the new .com. No .net, no .com, just Every.Black. And I said that several times, and one of our members said, you know what? You need to coin that. So we made that our official slogan, Every.Black. It's like, not .net, not .com, just Every.Black. .black is the new .com. That's our slogan.
No,
.black's
that's
the new .com.
very, very clever. Because yeah, when I initially saw you booked yourself, right? So the Calendly pushes out,
Uh-huh.
this person wants to meet with you. Here's something they may or may not have written in the notes. But I saw your email address, and I saw it was .black, and I was like, literally, I was like, I didn't know that was a domain. Like, and it kind of blew my mind. I was like, if I had known that, I would have had a .black at the end of my.
Well, actually, because com now, it is so hard to get something catchy with .com. So with .black, I was able to get podcast.black, every.black. I got movies.black,
Man, the
classes.black.
branding is amazing.
Yeah, and so I've got a number of black domains. Like the classes.black is where we're going to be listing classes that our members can take online. And so that's part of what Every.Black is. Again, we continue the meetings, the same format, where we read a little bit about entrepreneurship. We tell people what Every.Black is about. Then we introduce our speakers, guest speakers on different experts from around the world, and we network. And if you think about it, that's really patterned after church. When
Okay.
we even share scripture and close with prayer, but it's really patterned after church with the announcements. We have announcements and then a
Okay.
speaker, and then we network. And we did that because of two reasons. One is worked for the last 90 years for S.B. Fuller and Joe Dudley. And the other is that people are familiar with the format from church. And it seems to work. And again, it's open, free to the public every Monday evening. And we use that as a funnel just to get people in the door. That's why it's
Got
free.
it.
But if they actually join, then if they join Every.Black, then they're listed on the website. We have a mailing list where we can share their information on our mailing list to help them get more exposure for their businesses. We try to have our members as our guest speakers whenever we can. For example, this past weekend, we had a Every.Black Health Summit because we had about 8 of our members are in the health related fields.
Got it.
And so they put on an excellent health summit just talking about health, different aspects of health for all of us. And then we've had a financial summit where the members in the financial arena, and we had a tech summit. And we'll probably do another tech summit before the end of the year. And it's virtual so that people can log on and they can hear from our members that are in the tech space in some way or another. So it gives them more exposure, it educates the public. And then, of course, if you want more one-on-one help with any of our members, then you can consult with them and hire them or, go from there.
Right.
But that's what we do.
No, that's fascinating. Again, I just wasn't in the know, right? So when again, you booked, I can't remember if I reached out to you, you reached out to me,
Well,
or.
I probably reached out to you because I'm a member of Black Speakers Network
Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, the
with,
BSN.
with Brian
Okay.
Knowles. And it's kind of funny because I met Brian just as he was starting Black Speakers Network. And I was just getting Every.Black started. And he's been a speaker on our platform in the past. So,
Oh, awesome.
so we kind of know each other in that regard. I'm in North Carolina. He's I think in the Maryland area. But I'm a member of his group. And so I get the announcements of podcasts or organizations, conferences that are looking for speakers. And I kind of survey it when it looks appropriate, then I'll shoot an email or reply and appreciate that you picked me up on this one and to share what we do.
Yeah, definitely. So not just because I often remind the audience that when I reach out and talk to people, it's to broaden the audience, to bring them the information, what have you. But selfishly, it's for me as well. So I find it fascinating, right, to talk to entrepreneurs and people in the C-suite, things of that nature. And it's motivational, right? It's like, okay, I see other people were able to do this. I hear their stories. I like to share, their stories as well. But then I always learn something new, and I think that's really a key to not just life in general, but especially entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
Because why reinvent the wheel, right? Like when you can learn vicariously through someone else's experience,
Exactly.
especially with like you're saying, like I've learned a lot in this. I didn't know that there was such a mentorship legacy that had spanned 90 years, right? Because there's, aside from, I'm in Florida, so aside from all the banning of books and all the other nonsense that's currently
Right.
happening, there is a lineage and of stories and things of that nature I kind of lost, where I'm often reminded, like, no, we've been doing, entrepreneurship and starting businesses, and we've had millionaires, like you said, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s,
Right.
taught as frequently. So I like to have that knowledge and share those stories through the podcast as well. Say, no, we've been doing this for a while. It's just
Exactly.
it's just not being shared, or that the sharing of it is being stopped or halted by politics from time to time. So no, I find this fascinating. So again, I thank you for joining the podcast and coming on. ESN, so the Black Spirit Network, has brought me a lot of amazing guests. So shout out to Brian Oates. Like, he's doing
Absolutely. Yeah.
amazing things over
Yeah, I
on
think
that
he's doing a
side as
great
well.
job. He's doing a great job with that. I was really impressed.
No, that's awesome. So a little foreshadowing for us, because you've seen a lot of technology, you've seen a lot of advancement. Like you said, you're starting to share AI because it's been around. Like, it's
Couple years.
mass media buzzword now, right? But
Yeah.
you've seen that its advent to now where it has mass appeal. So what are you predicting for the future for entrepreneurs? Like, where should they be shifting their focus or their vision?
Well, again, you got to embrace the technology, and it's ever changing. The other thing I tell people is there's so much coming at you today that you can't. Don't try to learn it all. Pick your lane. Like, even if it comes to AI, just pick one, whether it's ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever. Just pick one and learn how to use that. And if there's something you need to do that maybe it doesn't quite do it, maybe you try something else. You don't have to feel comfortable with one and branch out and try another one, Copilot, whatever it is. After a while, you realize this is what I really need, works better for what I do. But don't try to just jump in and learn it all. It's too much, and it's changing. It's ever changing. But as far as the future in tech, I think the combination of AI and robotics uh, is going to be mind blowing to me. Some of the things that already they're coming out with, and a lot of it for good, but also concerned about things that robotics that they're using in war games.
Right, right.
It's some scary stuff. It reminds me really of the Terminator movie. you know, you know, you know.
Honestly, yeah. I've seen the robotic dogs where they
Yeah, yeah,
can, attach cameras, but also weapons. You're
exactly.
like, that's terrifying.
And it's changing very very quickly. But I would just say to still we have to continue to embrace technology, and this is a mindset that isn't changed overnight. When I say a mindset isn't changed overnight, is that our community is still too much embraced too much as a consumer. We need to be thinking of being producers. And again, I see a shift, I see a change, but we have to continue down that path to think about how to produce, how to be the producer, how to sell versus buying, purchasing.
Right.
uh, like I say, being the owner. Or Joe Dudley, he would always say, go into any major city and you see all these skyscrapers and all these beautiful office buildings and things. Like, how many do we own, and why not? Is our God any less
Right.
capable than to provide for us these types of things? So that's the only thing I could say is I would just hope that, and I believe that the next generations will continue to embrace entrepreneurship, embrace realizing that they have to, can't depend on anyone else, depend on yourself, that you can do it. You don't have to have a job. But don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with having a job, but ultimately I am encouraged by people branching out and discovering their passion and turning that into a business in some way. And especially
Absolutely.
in the science fields or technology, things where we're not traditionally the strongest. There's no reason why we can't be.
No, I think those are very wise words, especially through your lived experience, right? So you've seen the shift, and it's funny because it reminded me of something that I had. Delisha Hodo, she works with Sands University as a advisor, and she said very similar to you. But hers was take the stairs, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody wants to quickly accelerate. You have to build from your foundation, and then you take it one step at a time. And like you said, maybe go along the path and you're like, nah, I don't really like this. But you did learn something along the way, and then you can shift, and you're not starting from scratch, right? You're
Right.
carrying over a lot of those tools, that knowledge that you gained while you progressed. So I do embrace that as well. Like I think that's
One thing I was going to share as well. I know you said you like to see step one, step two, step three. Something that Joe Dudley told me that never will forget. He goes, I'm in North Carolina. He says, can I see New York? I'm like, no, I can't see New York from North Carolina. But when I get in my car to travel to New York or a plane or whatever, I expect to get there. And when I'm driving down the road, I might run into a detour or accident or whatever. But if I run into a detour, I don't just stop and turn around and go back home. I go around the detour. That's what entrepreneurship is like. When you start the journey, you will run into detours. Now you can quit and you'll never get there, or you can find a way around it and pursue your dreams, whatever. And I found too that once you take that step, once you step out on faith to do whatever it is you want to do, at some point, I'm just meeting you, but at some point, this podcast was an idea of yours. Once you stepped out on faith, then you start meeting people, through Black Speakers Network, wherever, that has made your podcast a success. But if you had never, but you didn't know you were going to meet me, you didn't know me
right,
from
right,
Adam at the time. But if you had never started, then I would have never been on here. You would have never known me or any of the other guests. So that's how it works. It's like once you take that step, things begin to happen. Your universe begins to conform to whatever it is your passion is about. Whatever you share with the world will start to bring to you. But
hmm
if you don't take that step, if you don't share it, if you don't take action, which you did, and if you don't take action, then it's not going to happen. And then what really bugs me is if I have an idea and I don't take action, and then somebody else comes along and does the
right,
exact same thing I thought about. And heard people say, I had that idea. Yeah, but you
right,
didn't take action. He did,
right.
or she
Yeah,
did,
yeah. Very
you
true.
know?
Very true.
So that would bug me if I had an idea and that somebody else made a success of my idea because I didn't do anything with it.
Absolutely. So again, it's been phenomenal to learn your story and to learn about the organization and its lineage. But all work and no play, right? So I always like to land a podcast on what you do to enrich your own life, to relax or unwind, or just to do something outside of work, right? To take up your time. So what is that for you? Like, what are your hobbies?
Well, as far as hobbies, a friend, I'd love to play chess. Growing up, my father played checkers and he was really good. I could never beat him, so I said, but went out and got myself a chess set and taught myself chess. But I love chess. And years ago, I used to actually go around the countryside competing in chess. So when I'd be training in a city, I'd look to see where's the local chess clubs, where's the local chess
Okay.
tournament, and I'd jump in and play. Or sometimes I'd win, sometimes I'd lose, but I just love the game. So that's one thing, and I still play it now. I play online, but the other thing is that I got someone special in my life, and so we have a deal: no work on Sundays, right? So Sundays is just for we might go catch a movie, we might go to a play, just something for fun. We usually go to church, but we usually do something on Sundays where it's just to enjoy the day, each other, and go, maybe visit family or whatever, but no work on Sundays. But then we're back at it, Monday through Saturday. We love good movies. I still love good movies with a good plot, and swim. We do that for exercise because being a tech guy, it's easy to be in the computer too much in front of the,
Very, very much so. Yeah.
and you got to get up. And so I swim. I try to get to the pool at least 3 times a week. Give myself some exercise in, especially as you get older. Those kind of, nothing fancy going on right now, or nothing extreme going on within the life right now, but just enjoying life, enjoying my partner, and doing the tech training and helping the members in the association through the week. But on Sundays, it's no phone call, no,
Right.
just unless it's just for social life or for fun.
No, I definitely need to take your advice. Since starting the podcast and my other moonlighting consulting, things of that nature. I don't take a day off.
I
I
know.
know it's not healthy, right? So I
Well,
try to, I tell people do as I say, not as I do when I was in the active duty, right? Like I would be at work late and then you start to see your subordinates start to stay late. You're like, no, 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 you need to go home. Well, you're working hard. You're like, no, no, no.
right. Well, that's where like having somebody in my life, I had to make some changes because
Right.
I was the same thing, whether it's Sunday or Monday, it didn't matter. I was working on something, but yeah.
No, that's definitely words to live by. But thank you again for joining the podcast and for sharing your story. I definitely have to have you back on, right? Because there's so many questions I just don't have the time to ask, right? And you have to be mindful of your time, and you have to get to the meeting.
Yeah, we've got a meeting come up here. No, I appreciate it so much, and feel free to join us any Monday night. So yeah, we meet every Monday. We say we're just like church. If it's Monday, we meet. It doesn't matter what Monday it is. One last bit of information I want to share with you about S.B. Fuller. I thought was really interesting that I
Yeah, absolutely.
discovered is that during the bus boycott in Montgomery with Martin Luther King, S.B. Fuller mentioned to Martin Luther King, "This is an entrepreneur of mine." He said, "Let's just buy the bus line and we can ride wherever we want to ride." But that's the mindset of being the owners of whatever it is. But Martin Luther King decided not to do that, not to pursue purchasing the bus line. But S.B. Fuller and some other entrepreneurs said, well, look, we just buy it and then we can ride wherever we want to ride on the bus.
Right.
So I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective on that history because at the time we had people who had the capital to
Yeah,
actually make to accomplish that, right? Not to say that things didn't work out the way that they were supposed to, or things were supposed to happen the way they're supposed to, but you never think about that. You never say, well, how come we didn't do X or Y or Z?
right.
And I think that can carry on to today, right? Because we look at the democratization of music, right? You have young artists who now own their masters. You
Uh-huh.
have, or they never joined a record label to begin with, right? They were able
Exactly.
to go to SoundCloud or their own platform or things of that nature. But there are a lot of platforms that don't typically like that. I say don't typically, but during this crucial time in our American history, not really feeling us. So it's like, how come we are not being more vocal about starting our own? Because there is the potential there to do so, and then how will that shift the conversation, right?
And today, I mean, just this is my phone here. With the phone, I mean, you can reach the world. You got everything you need right in your hand that we literally did not have not too long ago. So there's no reason why we can't share our story, our message, unfiltered with the world.
Absolutely. If someone wanted to join your meeting, like, so they're listening to the podcast, right? Then this will go out on a Thursday. So they're preparing themselves for the following Monday to come and, like you said, come to church, come gather.
Right, right.
How could they reach you to be part of the meeting? Do they have to sign up beforehand, or is it just a matter of just dropping into the website? It's a Zoom call. Like, what are they
Yeah,
looking?
on the website, there's a link to register. You just go to Every.Black and you'll see networking as one of the links. And under networking, the mastermind meetings. On the first Monday of each month, we have an international meeting, which we purposely have speakers from somewhere from around the world. The other Mondays, we usually get speakers from the U.S. But once you register, you're on our mailing list. And we only send out one email a week. I don't blast people with email, but let them know who the speaker is and also the link to join the Zoom meeting. And then yeah, just from that point on, just show up at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The reason we do 7:50, the meeting actually starts at 8, but we always have what we call an early bird video at 7:50. And if you come at 8, you'll miss the early bird video. It helps to get people there on time, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And so we always have some little special treat. And actually, this week, the early bird video is going to be explaining tariffs, how tariffs work and are affecting you.
Gotcha.
So we try to have something early bird video, something inspirational, in this case, educational, something to just kind of kick the meeting off.
No, outstanding. So, yeah, thank you again for coming to the podcast. I can't wait to speak with you again and join a session. So it won't be today, like, because I'm recording this on a Monday for people behind the scenes, because my wife would kill me. But
All right.
I don't record every Monday, right? So now I have something to look forward to. Like, I should join a session and find out more. So, no, thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me to be your guest today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely stay connected. For those who are joining us for the first time, right? So Monday, Tuesday are topics on the other side of the firewall. Wednesday, we do a discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP when I have a guest willing to sit here with me for almost an hour and just break down their experience, their background, their legacy, and then any ongoing initiatives they have, right? Those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people who have decided to, like you said, step out on faith and start their own journey. And then Fridays, everything else, it's nonsense. It's nonsense related, right? We try to unwind and talk about movies, books, games, our families, and vacation, things of that nature. So definitely hit up all the websites that go by our name, The Other Side of the Firewall, The Other Side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. You can find me on social media. I'm usually more reachable on LinkedIn than anything else at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. And where can they find you, Dr. Davies?
Sure. Again, Every.Black, www.every.black, and every.black. My email is just Jimmy, Jimmy, at every.black. Very simple. And my number is 919-265-8045. And we're also on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram and Facebook. I was on Twitter, but I had to get off of that.
Right.
So we're no longer on Twitter or X now.
Got you. All right. That's perfect. So thank you again for everybody who tuned in. Stay safe. Stay secure.